All right, when adding and subtracting these complex numbers, it's really just combining like terms with these. You got the 6i goes with the 4i, and then the -2 goes with the -2 because you got your real numbers go with real numbers, and imaginary goes with an imaginary number. And it says simplify the expression to an a plus bi form. That just means put the real part first and the imaginary part second. So the first thing we got is -2 minus a -2. That's our real part. -2 minus -2, same as -2 plus 2, which ends up being 0. And I'm just going to put a 0 right there. I don't need it, but I'm going to use it for my placeholder. And then I have -6i minus a -4i. Well, -6i minus a -4i is the same as adding 4i, which makes it -2i. So my answer would be 0 minus 2i, but you don't need the 0 there. So it's just -2i for my answer. And that would be in a plus bi form. You don't have to put the 0 in there because it's 0. There is no value there. So it's just -2i is what that one breaks down to. Now for this problem, same thing. You're going to subtract. This is subtraction. I've got -1 minus 12. -1 minus 12 is going to be -13. And then I have positive 2i minus a positive 7i. So 2 minus 7 is -5, so it makes it -5i. And that's it. This is a plus bi form. I got my real part first and my imaginary part second. There's really nothing more to it than that. Now when you get something like this, you've got a binomial and it's squared. It's a complex number, but it's still a binomial. And you're squaring it. Really what's happening here, just like when you square any binomial, you end up having a FOIL problem. You know, FOIL being first, outer, inner, last, and also known as the double distributive. You're going to distribute the 6, and then you're going to distribute the I. Now, this is where our I squared stuff will come into play, and we'll deal with that in a minute. But first, let's go ahead and just FOIL this out, just like the I is any other variable. So we've got 6 times 6 is 12. 6 times, we got this 6 times 6 gave us 12. 6 times this I will give us 6i, so plus 6i. And then we have this I times that 6 gives us another 6i. And then we have I times I, which makes I squared. So it's going to be plus I squared. Now, just keeping in interest the FOIL part of it, let's go ahead and combine like terms. You don't have to do this step first, but you can. Now we got to deal with this I squared. The great thing about it is anytime you recreate an I squared is equal to -1. That's because I is equal to the square root of -1. So when you square that, it just becomes -1. Now that it is -1, this is imaginary. You can't take the square root of a negative number. It doesn't work. You can't do that. But now that we squared it, now it becomes a -1. So it's a real number now. So I've got 12 plus 12i plus, and I'm just going to plug in a -1. I could have just put -1, but I want to show you that the I squared now become -1. Now I can combine like terms. 12 minus 1 gives me 11, and then I'm going to bring down my plus 12i, and that's my final answer. Now it's in a plus bi form. All this math is easy math. It's just doing normal FOIL, multiplying binomials together, but then whenever I create an I square, I change it to a -1, and I can just go ahead and combine like terms at that point. Another FOIL problem. All right, this one's already written out for me. I'm just going to multiply here and there, and then distribute the -7. So -11 times 2 is -22. -11 times 6i gives me -66i. Then I have the -7 times 2 is -14i. And then the -7 times 6i gives me -42i squared. Again, I squared equals -1, so I can plug in a -1 there. But let's go ahead and combine those like terms in the middle. So I got -22, and then I got -66i minus 14i, and they're going to combine. So negative 66i minus 14i is going to be negative 80i. And then I'm going to bring down my negative 42, and instead of I squared, I'm going to go ahead and plug in a negative 1. And the only thing this negative 1 is going to do is change the sign here. So I'm multiplying by that negative 1. I'm going to have negative 22 minus 80i, and I'm going to make it plus 42. At this point, I just combine like terms. I know I'm going to kind of fast, but it's pretty quick and easy. So if I add a 42 to a negative 22, I get 20. Then I'll have minus 80i, and that's my answer in a plus bi form, 20 minus 80i. You just do the FOIL steps like normal. When you get an I squared, put a negative 1 in there. That's all there is to it.